Well, there's been a heaping helping of winning for the last week, that is for sure. And we should not at all forget about the wonderful men and women in the military, especially those kicked out who are getting some semblance of justice right now because of the dumpage of the vaccine mandate, getting people reinstated. We're dumping the training madness. Joining me now, a couple ladies from the wonderful Independent Women's Forum, Andrea, managing editor, and Beth Parlato, senior legal advisor. Beth, let's start there. You were one of the ones all over these vaccine mandates very early on. Credit to you. I guess I'll just hand it over and let you spike the football.
Sure. Well, Trump is keeping his promises to eradicate radical gender ideology, not only from the federal government, from the military, and I commend him for that. The military is no place for experiments. And it's essential that our service men and women, that they have the strength and the physical abilities to actually meet the rigorous requirements to be in our military. And I really think that these executive orders today, they actually highlight the hypocrisy of this woke radical ideology. We have service members who are actually being encouraged to take experimental cross-sex hormones and other procedures and surgeries, and that's okay, and they're allowed in our military. Yet, as you mentioned in your opening, we have thousands of military members who have been discharged because they refuse to take the experimental COVID jab. So I think that these executive orders are righting the wrongs from the past administration, and I couldn't be more thrilled.
Beth, what do you make of this DEI chainsaw Trump is bringing to the place? And I mean the whole place, military, top to bottom, $420 million in cuts, just dumping all these dirty commies onto the street. I think it's glorious.
It is glorious. I love that use of the word. It's glorious. We have a new day. I am looking so forward to the next 4 years. DEI has no place in America. Period. We are a country that needs to have our businesses, our federal government, our state government, private entities, no matter what, across the board. It needs to be based on merit, and it needs to be based on our qualifications. So DEI has no place, and Trump is throwing it out the door, and we here at Independent Women could not be happier.
Andrea, talk to me about the nutty stuff they're still teaching in schools. Because right now we're all patting ourselves on the back. We're getting rid of all the DEI crap, and this is going to go and that's going to go. But locally, we still have so many of these apparatchiks running the school system.
Right, Jesse. You know, this all starts from the top down, but it's up to every single individual state and every single individual school board to make reforms based on Trump's executive orders. So Trump's executive orders are incredible. And at Independent Women, we are so proud of all of the progress that he's been making this past week. But, you know, we can't really change things unless each individual state, city, county, whatever you have it, makes the same changes that he's making. Growing up in ultra liberal California, I'm very used to progressive ideology being ramped into each student's brain. It was ramped into mine. I was growing up a Democrat by default. I would say almost every single one of my high school friends ended up identifying as transgender. All of my female friends who I was in high school with, all of my closest female friends, are now on testosterone. And Jesse, it's a little bit awkward to admit it, but my high school ex-boyfriend now uses female pronouns, has a female name, and even has breasts.
Oh, God, good God. How'd you come out of that okay? You look like you fared well.
You know, I underwent a very strong political transformation. I credit it to having an open mind and actually trying to have a dialogue with the other side, where I realized everything that I had learned was actually wrong. And, you know, it helped to have stories that I could put faces to concepts. And that's what really interested me in my work at Independent Woman. It's what really encouraged me to get started with Independent Women, where my colleague Kelsey Bolar was telling the stories of detransitioners. And that topic really hit hard to me because I knew so many people who were identifying as transgender and undergoing medicalization. When I started to understand how it can be changed from a policy standpoint, that's what really intrigued me with my work with Independent Women, and now as managing editor for IW Features.
How about that? Yeah, I remember we had Kelsey on to talk about that. It was fascinating and freaking horrifying. Beth, all this crap they do to kids at the local level, this seems to be your particular area of expertise. Is it illegal? And I know it's unethical, and I know that it's insane, and I know it's damaging, and I get all that, but are there legal ways we can stop a local jurisdiction in California, where all Andrea's friends went crazy tranny? Can we stop them from doing that?
Yeah. Well, I could kind of bounce off of Andrea. What she was saying is I'm admitted to practice in New York. So I've been a New York attorney for nearly 32 years. And so I've seen it, I fought it, and I have fought it all the way from the school boards all the way into the Supreme Court in the appellate division. It's very difficult to be able to stop this locally and statewide until the states get on board. So what President Trump just did on day one of his administration is he signed that executive order that he said that the policy of the United States is to recognize two sexes, male and female. And he defined male and female. And he also said that it does not include gender identity, that sex is not a synonym. We applaud that executive order. It is brilliantly drafted. But the issue with that, it's not an issue, but the problem is it only applies to the federal government, applies to the regulations and the policies within the federal government. So we need the states to get on board. The states have got to step up to the plate. They have got to pass sex-based legislation. We had eight states last year in 2024 pass sex-based legislation. This year, Independent Women is now working with 14 additional states. That's basically all I've been doing since January 1st. And so we are encouraged. We are going to do all we can to be able to get legislation passed in the state level. This week alone, I'm testifying in 2 different states within their legislatures to support sex-based legislation. But it has to get passed at the state level to be able to stop this. And, it's permeated our entire lives, not only in the schools, but it's also in, everything that we do. It's part of our culture. It's in society. It's in our laws. It's in our regulations. And thank God that Trump is stopping this in its tracks within the federal government. But the states also have to pass sex-based legislation to be able to keep boys out of girls' sports and to be able to keep boys out of women's private spaces.
I would thank you for coming to my YouTube channel, but I know how brilliant it is, and I know you love it here. So subscribe and watch. We're going to start really ramping things up and putting some funny stuff, some interesting stuff out there, some collaborations. Either way, my YouTube channel is officially the place to be. So stick around.